Okay, it is roughly 8:33 p.m. Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021. Welcome to week two of Introduction to Criminal Law. I'm Professor Richard Wright, and after we finish this week, believe it or not, we'll be 1/3 of the way through. So hang on in there. Um, I'm working on getting your assignments graded for week one. They'll be graded by the end of Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope everybody understands that your assignments are due, and your written assignments are due 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, no matter what time zone you are in. Your discussion posts are due Tuesday, which tonight is the first week that you do initial post, and it's due by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. And your reply posts are due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. The reason why I say that is because I found out that one of my students, not in this class, somehow had her on her calendar 12:59 p.m., but she's in Florida. But I don't know why that happens, because your settings are based on not where you are as a student, but it's based on where I am as your professor. In other words, where I teach from. Even if I go like to Florida to teach, it's still going to be the same time, because my home base is Central Standard Time. So if you have a problem like that and your assignments are going to keep being late, then you'll need to reach out to personal support to fix it, because I can't change your time on there. But I haven't received any comments from anyone about it, except that one single student out of my classes. And so that's out of almost 50 students altogether. One single student who's in Florida. But I was just mentioning it at the beginning of this, and I'll mention it tomorrow night in drugs and crime for people in that class. So let's go ahead and share the screen, get going here with this. Okay, I'm going to click on student preview. Okay, and so we're in student preview, and this is how you see it. So if you click on your emails, you'll see the emails, but you'll see all the emails that I sent to everybody, but you'll also see the emails that are between you and I. The reason why the picture that you're looking at now shows only mine is because it has me as if I'm a student, but I haven't sent the email to myself. So that's why you don't see it, but that's how you do it. And then you click on the name, and it actually opens up the email itself. All right, like that. And then you can type in the little box a message, and then you can send it to me or to yourself or whoever else you're sending it to. So that's just how that works. In this instance, this is showing the week one um, PowerPoints, and then this one shows the week two PowerPoints, which you all should have, because it's sent to all course members. Automatically it defaults to everybody. So you should have that, and you can see that that consists of chapters 3, 4, and 12. That's one place that you'll see that. All right. So now let's take a look at the grade book. in the grade book, it shows your assignments for the week. Notice it shows that they're unopened. You know why it's unopened? Because I didn't do my assignments. I didn't have an assignment. But for each of you, it will say unopened to me. When I look at the regular, um, it will not necessarily show. It'll show how many unopened it and missing assignments. So now we're in week 2. So this week we have 3 things again. So your discussion post, which is due tonight, is about the topic of Debbie breaking into Larry's house. Oops. Anyway, uh, committing a possibly committing a crime at Larry's house. And the question that is going to be before each of you is, has Debbie committed robbery, burglary, theft, or only one, or only two, or all three? Do you believe that the elements of all three have been satisfied? So in order to do that, you're going to need to know the elements of them. Guess what? Fortunately for you who are here live today, you will find out firsthand, even if you have not done the reading yet. But others will have to do the reading, and you still need to do it about these 2 issues, and we're going to cover those tonight before I leave. And then explain the differences between the crimes and the likelihood of Debbie being convicted of all 3 crimes. In your reply post, you go with another student and explain why you feel more strongly about one of the crimes more successfully versus another. And again, as I said, you put your response down in here, and then of course then you respond. And of course you know that it is going to be detailed, not going to be short yes or no and that. And this over here, then you submit it. You can have citations and references, which are good, but you won't be penalized in this instance for doing that. So remember one final time that initial post is due tonight. Tonight. Even though you hear it says the 22nd, that's because the setup is for the second post. However, the initial post is due on the 18th. How do you know that? It's going to be on the calendar. So anybody who looks at this and says, hey, it says here that it's due Saturday, then that means you don't understand. The system that they set up, which we're not happy about, faculty, is that it shows the initial post. And a lot of people think that that is what we're looking at here. So that is not true. So you should be clear about that. And then your written assignment. Okay. All right, let's look at the um let's move that out of the way. I don't know why that didn't open up. Let's see. I think okay. Um this is graded with a rubric, and I'm going to get into the details of it, but here is of course the rubric, which you see the full, you're able to see under each section. 1, examine the types of crimes committed. Tells you 10 points for the levels of 10 points. For 10 points or 10% of your grade, you have to do this. For 25% or 10%, 10 points of your grade here, you're going to have APA citation for the total. So the total number of points that you will get, if you look at this, is, let me take it out of the rubric. $40 points. So you have 40 points all together. You should have 40 points all together. It should be 10, 10, and 10. Okay. All right. We're going to go to that in detail in just a minute. And you see again that that's due on Sunday. And then your live classroom lecture phrase. Those are the items that are due. Okay, let's close that up. Let's go back into it. Okay. Once again, your discussion post over here, and it gives you the same information that I just talked about a few minutes ago. And this actually shows the names of people that have responded already. And it tells you who they are. I don't have a problem with that because actually you will see that there. So some of you already got the initial post. Of course, though, if you have your initial post and you find out that it is not correct after this lecture, then you want to go back and fix that one. Like I said, I encourage additional posts as well. Here is your course calendar. This is what I was referring to earlier. I like the month view because it shows this day. Notice the dots show when they're assignments. This was last week's week 1 assignments. This is tonight. This is Saturday. Let's look at the month all together and you'll see it broken down. So you see the circle, it tells you where we are, and you'll see confirms what I said a few minutes ago. Then your initial post, and then your live lecture. Somebody said to me, where could they find the link for the classroom? This is one place. If you were to click on this and scroll down, there it is right there. And all you have to do is click on it and it will take you to the live lecture. All right, so let's go back to the month view. And so you see that your initial post, and then this gives you a chance to prepare. Notice you have nothing in between those 3 days. So your initial post was due tonight, then this is your reply post. And then Sunday, your written assignment and live classroom. This course doesn't have a whole lot of work in it, but you can do well if you follow the rubric and follow what's in the module. Okay, and then let's go and let's take a look at one of my favorite things I like to do, and that's speed ahead, to remind you again every week that the course ends on the 18th, not the 19th, not the 20th. So the course absolutely ends, all right, on the 18th. So no one is confused in my classes. Okay, so we go back to the course content. Again, if you want to see, if you have some questions about assignments, you can always click on these and it will show you the written assignment again. There we go. Now you see with this view that you actually see there are 3 parts to it. There's a scenario for part 1 rather, and it tells you 2 pages minimum, double space, that you deal with each of these actual 4 points. And then there's APA, of course. Then part 2, you're going to create a flyer. Okay. So I was telling you earlier that you have a maximum of 40 points. So here is the full rubric. And there you can see it. To get 25% of your grade, you complete that part 1 and make sure that you align the goals of writing and spelling. Then you get the other percent, and then finally the other percent. That's why I said it was 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I thought it was 10. It didn't. I don't know why the other thing didn't show it. But you're 10, 20, 30 for a total of 40 points. Okay, and it reminds you about the flyer and what you have to do. Remember again, no Wikipedia. Uh, then, part 2, you're going to create a flyer. So that's the rubric. And so you know how to find that. Again, go back to looking at the assignment as well. And then there it is over there where it says grading rubric. That's what you want to have and look at. Any questions about the written assignment? If so, say yes. If not, say no. If you say nothing, okay, that means that you're good. All right. And make sure you're quiet. By the way, does anybody know what format that these documents should be in? I know APA, but what are we using? If you submit it, you have to submit it in, there we go, Word. Thank you. Word. There it is right there. It says it under each assignment. Should say it right here. Thought it was in here. Am I overlooking it? Why don't I see Word? Should say Word. Oh, APA. I don't know why it doesn't say that there, but it should say it. But anyway, all documents should be in Word. Yeah, it usually is at the very bottom. You're right. Usually it's at the very bottom here. That's why with this new program, new Ultra, some of the stuff, but you already know it has to be here. I bet if I go to, okay, let's do that. Let's see. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, Richard Wright, let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, but I don't know why. They just kind of making it a little difficult here. Um, why does it not say it there? I thought it said it in everything. You said might have to click view assessment. I don't know. I don't know where. You're talking about that? I don't see what you're talking about. I really don't. I'm trying to find that. View assessment. You see it here? Okay, when I get to the assignment, click the assignment. Yep, clicking the assignment. Okay, and you said down at the bottom, scroll over to the left. I don't see. Yeah, yeah, I don't see it. So anyway, it's just, this is ridiculous. But you already know. I'm just trying to make sure that you're aware of that. But that should be in there. I'm going to talk to them about that issue. But you're clear. Word document is the format. One of the things about the other session, um, it was there already. I thought it was in. Let me go to module one. I'm just going back to what we had. I thought it was in there. Yeah, there it is. See it right there? Yeah, there it is right there in week one. There it is right there. So why it's not in week number two, I'll have to bring that to the course developers' attention. Um, just curious. Now they got me curious. I want to see in week three. Just curious, or did they just miss it in week two? Uh, written assignment for week three. Let's just see if it's in there. Yep, here it is there. So somehow or another, um, they just left it out of week two. Uh, so I hope that a lot of students, I can hear some students already saying, I looked at it and it didn't have it there. It should be right around in here, like you said. But anyway, I can't modify it. So anyway, you know that. So, um, all right, tomato, tomatoes, potatoes, potatoes, however. All right, so anyway, so you got the details on it, and you also have the rubric as well. And then right here, this is how people right now find the live classroom lecture if they were to go there. Of course, you guys, this won't affect you because you're here. And that's one of the places you could have gone to before you came here. Of course, after this, I change it over to the recording, and that's where you'll find the recording. In addition, as you already know, I email it to you as well. Okay. And then we'll discuss these topics here uh, in just a few minutes. Okay. So for the next half an hour, we'll be doing that. Going back to discussion posts. Again, you follow the read the scenario and determine whether Debbie is can be found guilty of robbery, burglary, or theft. That's the key. Of course. Okay, let's see. You got let me look at that chat. Okay, put it private. Not privately, so that everybody. Oh, it's a screenshot. Okay. Make sure you put it to everyone. Let's see. I'm gonna take a look at this and see what this is. I don't know what this is. Uh, oh, it doesn't. Okay. Oh, I can't see that in the chat. That's why. Yeah. Okay. What is that a screenshot of? Jessica, what's that a screenshot of? What is that? You can type in the chat box. Okay. I don't know. But all right. So anyway, this is your discussion post and so forth. All right. So now let's go back to the okay, so let's go back. We're course content. Let's take a look at our announcement for this week. You see your week 2 announcement posted. This thing keeps getting in the way. So crimes against property. This week, crimes against property we will deal with. And chapters 3, 4, and 12, of which I've already sent you the PowerPoints, and then complete the activities, crimes against property, larceny, robbery, burglary, misappropriation, trespassing, and vandalism. We'll talk about that tonight. And then there's some practice materials that after that. The lecture, of course, is today at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard. And again, the link for the lecture is there. This one is not hyperlinked, but you'd have to copy and paste it, but you'd already found it. The discussion assignment, robbery, burglary, and theft that I've already mentioned several times. Initial post due tonight, reply post Saturday. And finally, the written assignment, identity theft problem, which I've already covered. And all written assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. And then reminder to start strong, finish strong. And my motto, adversity springboard to success. I remind you again to, when you get a chance to, on your free time, to learn something about me and something. If you look at this, adversity as a springboard to success, it's about an hour-long video. Pay close attention to that. It tells you a lot about me. And there's some students that always think that they had challenges and that they're having challenges that, and then I share my story, and then students come back and say, wow, I never had anything that bad. Or either they know someone who has. The point of the matter is that you can overcome your challenges and use them as a springboard uh, to success. Because that's what I did, and that's what I am. Okay. And so we've done everything we need to do here. Let's get into the lecture portion. I'm going to go to 2. Let me close this one down. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we jump to 2. So the question is, what do you say? Of the word I was looking for. Module 2, where you're looking for the word. What doesn't kill us make us stronger. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's why COVID kills. It doesn't make you stronger. It makes you weaker. That's why I'm an advocate of the shot. Incidentally, if you saw the email from the college, I keep saying the college, the university, they indicate that they recommend everybody get the shot. That's what I like about this school. They take care of us all. There are people who run into problems about taking the shot. Um, it's it's important. It'll save your life. I promise you. I'm living proof. I don't tell my students anything that I can't do or try to do. Okay. Like, for example, I don't discuss um, uh, what females go through having babies because I have never had one, but I've fathered many, but I've been around it. But I let my wife or female elaborate on that and I listen to them. But there are some things that, if you understand what I'm saying, that you learn from people that are different from things that you don't witness. Like, for example, there are some people who don't understand that there is systemic racism in this country. I do, and I live it every day. Sadly, in 2021, I still live it. It's unfortunate, but uh, it's a reality. But we still um, recognize and we try to work things out here. That's why our school represents diversity and inclusion. Okay, so what are crimes against property? And this is just a summary of it. Let me get this out the way. And then I can put that back. I have to keep moving this thing. Um, Crimes against people are more violent. We're going to talk about that next week. However, because most crimes against property um, don't really intend to result in physical harm, but can result in physical harm. And so in this lecture today, the property crimes that we primarily deal with will be larceny, burglary and robbery, misappropriation, trespassing, and vandalism. And so we're going to talk about each of those in this module. All right. So I'm going to go right into larceny. So what is larceny? What's another word for larceny? Very simple. It is known as theft today. It is the taking of property, personal property of another with intent to permanently deprive that person. Well, it's not petty theft. It's theft, period. You can take the petty off. But uh, petty theft, as you'll see here, I'm about to say, is that when someone steals a less valuable item, then that person is probably going to be guilty of a misdemeanor, and it might be considered to be petty theft. But if we can steal something more valuable, then it's going to be theft, and it could be a felony or grand theft. Like they give the example in Florida, if someone steals something at $299 or less, they could be convicted of a misdemeanor. That might be considered petty theft. However, if someone steals something greater than that, or 300 or more, they're convicted of felony. So, and it says in addition to petty theft and grand theft, there are other kinds of theft, identity theft, which we're going to talk about, retail theft, auto theft, theft of communication, uh, videos, satellites, cable services. Dealing with retail theft, for example, is shoplifting. Also, switching tags on items to get a lower amount. I had a client one time I represented years and years ago before they have the sophisticated systems pretty much where they pick it up. But the bottom line is that now the tags are tied in with computers, so it's a little more difficult to switch the tags. But people work hard to do that. Auto theft, we're going to talk about that. Theft of telecommunications, that's people who have illegal systems that they use for their telephones, for their satellites and or cable services. Those sticks, those fire sticks, they don't fit in those categories, because you know what has happened is that one of the reasons why your cable services and satellite services are more expensive, people, is because they incorporate the fact that there are people who will steal their signal and utilize it without paying for it. And so you actually, believe it or not, as I explained to people, theft is something that affects all of us. When when someone commits theft, that store loses the price of the item, and therefore you end up paying for it with a higher price. Same thing if they have insurance, they get the insurance to cover it, but then they end up still having to pay a higher insurance rate, and that causes your prices to go up. So, yep, premiums go up as well. So the key thing is that property can be tangible, physical item from a store, or intangible, such as video, satellite signals. You know also that if you've been to the show and haven't been there lately, that there's usually a row of people that's sitting somewhere down near the front with their cell phones on, and what they're doing is they are illegally appropriating the movie, and then they feed it into a computer and illegally sell DVDs of the movie before they come out, and people have to pay for them. So I'm sure you've seen that. Have you guys seen that? You know what I'm talking about? Yep, bootleg. But have you seen that taking place though in the show? Yeah, yeah. It happens all the time. It's amazing to me that they don't think they can get busted. They don't know who's sitting behind them. A police officer can arrest them for that, very simply. So anyway, a tangible object could be like an automobile, and so we're going to talk about that. All right, so let's talk about vehicle theft. So stealing a vehicle, a car, a bus, a scooter, a motorcycle, um, ATV, a boat or snowmobile, uh, fall into the category of auto theft or vehicle theft. And as you already know, auto theft is when a vehicle is taken and to deprive the owner of the vehicle. And you see this little picture here. That's kind of antiquated in a way, because a lot of people now don't have those kinds of things you can stick screwdrivers in, but there are other things, like they'll even go through and break the windows. And so the common element of stealing a vehicle is intentionally operating or driving without consent the vehicle of another. And that is considered as a felony in most jurisdictions. And you can go to jail for longer periods of time for that, because of the value of it. Joyriding, on the other hand, is when someone takes a vehicle not to permanently deprive the owner, but uses it in an unauthorized manner. For example, they don't intend to permanently deprive it, but you can still get charged with a crime and a felony for taking those vehicles. And various state statutes, such as Ohio, has prohibits the unauthorized use of motor vehicle. If the vehicle is returned within 48 hours, it's a misdemeanor. If not, it's a felony. So the longer you joyride, the more likely you can end up with a felony. Okay, the key thing is that you intend on doing it. This happens a lot of times with family members. Even one of my nieces, when she was younger, she took her grandmother's car and did that, and she didn't get caught, but that's what guilty of joyriding. Carjacking is more violent. Carjacking, of course, is when now listen to me good. As I already said, theft involves not physical actions. However, when you get into hearing the word armed, strong armed, invasion, those kind of things, that's when you run into your problems. And we'll see that in a minute. Carjacking is like armed robbery, and is forcibly taking the vehicle. And you know what that is. Illinois has a good statute that I'm familiar with. Uh, Vehicular hijacking prohibits a person from knowingly taking a motor vehicle from the person or immediate presence of another by use of force or imminent use of force. You know, it happens quite frequently. I don't understand. A lot of people help carjackers a whole lot uh, by leaving their cars running. You hear a lot of instances where cars are taken and there's kids in the back. Who does that? I don't get that one. I can't. My wife, I'll leave her in the car and I'll go into the store and she'll stay in the car. I'll instinctively grab the keys. She'll say no. She'll leave the keys in there so she can listen to the radio, and she'll do that, but she'll lock the door. And it's simple as that. Somebody could jump in the driver's seat and boom, you're gone. And if you have people or kids in the back of your seat, there it goes. So then Florida has one as well, but almost all states, um, it's a felony, and it's a felony. And you see, this is how a lot of times it happens. It's the weapon that is threatening to do harm to the person, and they can take the vehicle. Okay, so that's dealing with larceny or theft. Remember that. So now let's talk about robbery. Okay, now first of all, let's start with burglary. Well, no, we're not. I'm going to talk about the fact that burglary is the breaking and entering the dwelling of another with intent to commit a crime, such as vandalism and or arson. And then it says, at common law, it was limited to the home and must have occurred at the nighttime. I remember studying that in law school. But today, burglary can occur in houses, vehicles, businesses, or vessels any time of the day. So burglary is a 24/7. The reason why burglars often wore black and even still do today is because it was nighttime so that they could blend in. That was what that was all about. I had a couple of clients that thought that that would keep them from getting charged. Obviously, they got caught because I became their lawyers. Some of them I got them off. Some of them I had to get light sentences for them. Robbery, robbery, like larceny, is the unlawful taking of personal property with intent to permanently deprive the person. However, there are two other elements that have to be robbery. So it is not just theft. The taking must be from the person, from the person, from the individual, and the taking must be done by the use of force, intimidation, threat, or violence. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about armed robbery, strong armed robbery, and home invasion. Now, we are going to get down to things, but let's talk about burglary first. I want to do that one first. It's important for you to know that. Burglary involves entering the dwelling of another with intent to steal. Okay, what is entry? Entry is not necessarily you physically going in. if a part of your body reaches into an open window, breaks a window, takes something out, let's just leave the open window situation, and there's a computer there, you have not committed theft. Well, you have, but you have really committed burglary because you broke the plane. The plane is the area where the item sat. In other words, it sat on their private property in their home. So therefore, if you take a stick or rope and reach in, you're going to be guilty of burglary. That's all I'm going to say about that. So you remember that. You need to be aware of that. All right. A lot of people get tricked because they think that because it says entering, they think that means that your physical body has to go in completely. Nope. Reaching in will get you a burglary. So that's all I need to say about that. Robbery, you're dealing with force. Force must be by the use of force, intimidation, threat, or violence. I'm going to ask you a question. What is pickpocketing? Is pickpocketing robbery or is it theft? What do you think? Not necessarily. It can't be both. It's got to be one or the other. That says elements of it. It's actually theft. It's not robbery. Remember, robbery has depriving the person permanently. However, there are two important elements. The taking must be from a person. Okay, that element is satisfied from pickpocketing. And, not or, taking must be done by the use of force, intimidation, threat, or violence. In most pickpocket cases, do you know that you've been pickpocketed at the time it takes place? Do you? No, you don't. No, you don't. Because then you could respond to it. But that's theft. You see why it's theft? Because even though it's taken from a person, but see, you got to make sure in law, that's one of the things that you need to know, and I'm an expert at that, is if it says or and, no physical, no intimidation. Again, if it's intimidation, then we get to armed robbery or strong armed robbery or home invasion. But if the person don't know, like I see students all the time with their cell phones in their back pockets. I don't get that part. I guess that's why a lot of iPhones have cracked screens. I don't know. Cracked screens seem to go with iPhones. So anyway, I got to move along because we got more to go, and it's almost done. So anyway, that's robbery. Now, armed robbery is what it says, using a weapon. If it is a weapon or if the individual believes that the person has a weapon that is concealed, then that person is placed under threat, then it's armed robbery. Okay? Because it's reasonable to believe that that person could have a weapon to shoot them. All right? Even if they, like, turns out they got in their uh, pocket their finger, but you don't see that. So it doesn't have to be seen, but if a suspect uses a pen and points it towards the victim and it's concealed, then it's armed robbery. Think about it in terms of using something to threaten that individual, some kind of weapon. If you use a bat or a stick to rob someone, is that armed robbery? Yes, the answer is yes. I'm going to be speeding up a little bit because your answers are coming a little slow. But the point of the matter is yes, it is, because you're using a weapon. A weapon does not have to be a gun or a knife. I heard someone say that there were not very many individuals on January 6th who had weapons that went into the Capitol. Well, they use poles, they use sticks, they use all kinds of devices. A weapon is something in addition to what your body is. Now, let's say, for example, here's one I always pose to my students. If you are a boxer, okay, there we go. You're already anticipating my next point. If a person is a boxer, a self-defense expert, or something like that, using just their hands, that is an example of armed robbery. Very good, very good, excellent, because their hands are lethal weapons. All right. Strong arm robbery is snatching and taking. The picture tells you basically what it is. A 25-year-old woman jogging on a trail has a small wristlet bracelet purse in her hand, which contains her ID and $20 cash. All of that's probably what could be considered as a misdemeanor. But a 17-year-old runs behind the jogger, rips the wristlet away from the victim, and runs off. Because no weapon was displayed, but force was used to take the item, then it's strong arm robbery, which would be a felony. Now, this is where people mix up burglary and theft. A home invasion is a form of robbery that's like burglary, but it's more serious because of the threatened violence that happens. Similar to burglary, and I'm reading this for you because it gets it home to you. During a home invasion robbery, an offender enters the dwelling without their consent, but uses force to commit the robbery. Intentionally entering the dwelling without their consent and commits robbery. And remember what robbery is. I already told you up here what robbery is. Okay. So be careful about that, because you're going to run across that, by the way, the point of order. You're going to run across that in week 3 quiz. It is in there. Okay. And then these are additional sources that you can take a look at. All right. Moving right along. We're almost done. We got misappropriation. Misappropriation is where you take control over a person's property, where you have been placed in a maybe a personal status of trust, such as embezzlement, where you might do that for your employer or to someone that you're taking care of. Fraud, and or forgery or welfare fraud, identity theft, and credit card crimes. Embezzlement basically is what I said is, yeah. So embezzlement occurs when you unlawfully take an item that the person has been entrusted with, all right, such as working in a bank or even in a store or something like that, all right. Fraud. Fraud is just basically lying, and it results in theft. It exists when there's a theme to obtain a profit through deceit or deception or trickery or just plain old lying. Okay, keep moving along. Forgery. Forgery is like, for example, just changing an instrument or a document, uh, where I give you a check for $10 and you write an extra zero in there. But because that's why you're supposed to write it in words as well, so that when the bank looks at it, they'll see the words on there and things like that. Also, even altering a year or a date. Did you know that if you write your checks, like for example, you write a check today and you write it 05/18/21, that someone can forge that. They can change that. They could change that number into something that would fit them. But anyway, the point of the matter is you should use all four for the year. That's a little tip for you. Welfare fraud is when people are saying that they don't have enough income and so forth, and they use government programs for food, renters assistance, energy assistance, and so forth. All right. Identity theft. This is something that you're writing about this week. Almost all of us have been or will be or know people who have been the victims of identity theft. When someone uses or attempts to use personal identification, um, um, and it could be a credit card, it could be money, it could be services, or even employment. I was the victim of identity theft several times. I remember one time in a restaurant we went to use to purchase some food, and we gave the person our card, which usually, and he went and took it, and turns out a few days later, um, when I went to use the card, I found out that it had been compromised. What he did was he took, and he had one of those little portable scanners, and he scanned my card in addition to charging it, and put it in a jump drive, put it in a computer, sent it to another state. And I was hit with like $2,000 uh, uh, worth of charges, which my bank quickly fixed. They found out what happened. It was a theft ring that was taking place. So it can happen. You can even have your card in your own possession. There are times when people will double swipe your card. There are times when people can make copies of your card, as what happened in the instance with me. I also had an instance when I got ready to get a phone from my daughter with AT&T, and I had AT&T for television at that time, UVerse. And when I got ready to get the phone, they told me I owed money for a cell phone. I says, I don't have a cell phone, and I have Verizon. And they said no, and they mentioned the address. Well, what had happened is where I had previously lived, and this happened in 2019, guys. I had moved from there, and the address that was they had on that count 2011, but the person who made the purchase did it in 2017, and I ended up finding out about it in 2019 when I went to get a cell phone. It took 4 or 5 months for that to get that straight. So identity theft is very serious. All kind of schemes out here. I do. I do have that. I have that. I sure do. Matter of fact, I get it. I have, not only do I have CreditWise, but I also have Credit Karma on my phone. I have Experian on my phone, but I have CreditWise that that tells me stuff. But here's something that you need to be aware that, yep, is that the person that had that cell phone, I don't know how they did it. They didn't use my social security number. It wasn't on my credit report. It didn't show up anywhere. I didn't get any calls from anybody. It was only when I went to apply for it that that happened. So stuff like that, it doesn't pick up. So what you have to do in a situation like that is do a credit freeze. You know I'm talking about your reports. You freeze them. I also have on Experian a lock that I can lock. But I have to remember that if I'm getting ready to apply for credit, to unlock it at least 24 hours before, because they'll deny me. And I've been denied, and it says, come back, and he says, oh, I said, oh, let me do this all over again in 24 hours. And then it would unlock it. But that's for my protection there. So you have those kinds of things there. There's all kinds of things. You can also put comments and notes in your credit reports as well. So anyway, credit card fraud, I've already kind of talked about that a little bit. So, all right. So identity theft is because of the electronic system, guys, it has become something that it wasn't before. All right. So let's see. We did this one. Yeah, we did that one. Okay, so now we're on the last one, trespassing. And I apologize for going a few minutes over, but trespassing, we'll go through as fast, is very simply where there's a sign, must be a sign out indicating that person should not go on the property. And if they do go on the property, they can be guilty of trespassing, which most time is a misdemeanor. But it can also be a dangerous thing for them because in some jurisdictions, you can actually shoot individuals who trespass. You will run into problems though if you have, like some people have had, electronic fences where people get shocked and stuff like that. They can end up being in trouble themselves. Okay, so that's trespassing. Vandalism is just basically tearing up the property of another. Okay, resulting in criminal damage to property. Now, it has to be intentional damage without consent, and it has to be the property of another. So if you and your partner, spouse have property together, a car together, and one of you break the windows or paint it or key it. You know what I'm talking about when I say key it, right? I'm not talking about putting in the key, but you know what I'm talking about. That line, you know, I know some people who've done that. I don't recommend that. But that could be criminal damage to property of another. However, if it's both of your property, then you can't do it unless you went through a separation, divorce, and legally it was awarded to you. Okay. It's like, for example, I was telling my wife, I said, the car that your car, which you drive, I am the one who works in the house. So therefore, I had to apply for credit to get her car. And she drives an expensive car. I don't like them either. It's a Mercedes. I just drive a Lincoln MKZ, which is a nice car too. But anyway, both cars are in the name of Richard Wright. And so I told her, I says, see, I says, if you damage this car and intentionally hit it, I could get after you. Well, you might have some problems if you're in a marriage and that. I got 27 years of marriage almost. We don't have that issue. That would be crazy though, counterproductive. But you know what I'm talking about. Like somebody breaks up with somebody and they key their vehicle or do something, paint on it, put jerk on there and spray paint. Okay, to drive a Mercedes. I've been a lawyer since 1978 and I've driven a Mercedes, but I never, I mean, I've owned it, but that's not my big, I'm not into it. So, my wife is married to a lawyer, so she drives a Mercedes. In fact, her mask that she wears, you know, for COVID is a Mercedes mask. She has a key ring, a Mercedes, you know. So, yeah. Yeah, if you go on Facebook, by the way, I invite you guys to be my friends on Facebook, Richard Wright JD. You'll see all those kind of great things on there. But yeah, it's because I went to school and I worked hard. Uh, See, yeah, see, there you go. Look at that. See, the guys get the Mercedes for the wives. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. See, you see that, Jessica? Okay. Oh God, that's funny. All right. So anyway, criminal damage to property occurs when you damage someone's property intentionally. So that's it for me. Now, I just want to take a few minutes and go over these things to help you before I adjourn. Give me a few minutes. So the key terms that you need to be aware of, you need to be familiar with these definitions. We already talked about them, but these are things that will summarize and help you to get ready for the exam. Okay. So don't ignore that. Practice. These are practice exams that help you. Start activity. Okay, let's do this one. We're gonna do just one. A 17-year-old boy is walking home from high school. He's approached by two suspects. They shove him to the ground and take his wallet. What type of crime is this? Is it the first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one? Okay, you say theft. Any other guesses? Yep, there you go. There you go. That's the answer right there. I think you got faked out there. Yeah, you got faked out. You have to be careful because that can happen on the test. Remember the elements. They give you facts to make you realize that there's things that you learned that are important by force. If it was that, it would be that. But yeah, it is strong armed robbery. Okay, because physical force was used. All right. So you could go through and you can do those. Just do one more for the sake of it. A 14-year-old girl left her bicycle outside on the front lawn. And the next morning, the bicycle is missing and the family reports the crime. What type of crime is committed? A lot of people miss this one. Okay. How come not burglary? The answer is evident because it's not, no, it's not burglary. I see, you can get messed up. No, it's not burglary because you're thinking too hard because it's on their front lawn. It's not in their garage or in their house. Yeah, because the property was taken without consent, without them. So see, but you see how you got to be careful. Just because somebody says it, even me, that doesn't necessarily mean because sometimes, no, professor, it's not that because. Okay. So be aware of that because when you take the test, remember it's closed book. All right. So now, uh, the last thing we have here is the practice quiz. I'm going to say this to you. It's too important for me not to say it. Please study using these tools that I'm taking time to go over with you. I say it not just to say it. I'm not saying to take up extra time. I'm saying it because it will maximize. And remember, in this class, your next exam is coming up next week. Because guess what? After next week, you're halfway through, believe it or not. Yeah. Wait a minute. Didn't I just start? Yes. Yes, you did. But that's it. So now let's do two of these. The unlawful, and by the way, oh, okay, good. And it help you to the material to stick with you too as well. Uh, the unlawful entry into the dwelling of another without consent with the intent to commit a robbery is known as what? This is where people mess up. Okay. You say home invasion. Any other guesses? So you got suckered into me saying any other guesses? Do they have to have weapons? Unlawful entry into the dwelling of another, listen to the elements, without consent, and their intent is to commit a robbery. So the answer is probably they do have weapons. When you see robbery, it tells you or by force. So it is not burglary, it is home invasion. That's where people get that wrong by getting either burglary or home invasion. But you gotta be careful. Okay. Home invasion are robberies. As soon as you see the word robbery, you already know that there's a weapon involved. Okay. Or force or threat of violence, one or the other, or, okay, the person is concerned about getting injured. All right, one last one. What crime is committed when someone points a weapon at another person while on a sidewalk and demands that person turn over their personal property? What is that? Come on, you know. Any other guesses? Or is armed robbery it? Or as we say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Professor, you can't even get me to go another way. It is armed robbery. And that's it. Armed robbery is the unlawful taking of property of another by use or threat, or use of dangerous weapon or any article used or fashioned. So the person believes that you even have a weapon, even if you don't. And that's it for today. I am going to ask you a question. Um, what do you think the phrase should be for today? I know one I want to use. What do you think it is? Take a guess. Type it in the chat box. Getting a Mercedes. You're welcome. Uh, oh, God. God bless the child that has their own. That's right. Um, any guesses about what the key phrase will be or word for today? No guesses? Come on, take a guess. Nope. Andrew, take a guess. Jessica said, Andrew, what's your guess? That's pretty good, but actually it's burglary. Burglary. Give me that and you will get your points. All right, guys, I've held you long enough. Do you have any questions before I let you go? Okay. All right. All right. So by next week, you'll be beginning to research that Mercedes. Um, my wife is wants to she wants her next car to be a Rolls Rolls Royce. I'm afraid for her to drive Rolls Royce during this day and time. The jackings that are taking place. In fact, she doesn't take her Mercedes into the city unless I'm with her. And I kind of know how to deal with the streets in those situations, but it's not 100% there either. But yeah, and the insurance is pretty pretty good. So yeah, but you know what? You get a good education. I got a good education. I went to a good school. Here it is right here. Here it is right here on my shirt. Northwestern Law. Well, you know that already. I got a good education. I practice law. I made good money. I, do pretty well here at the school, and I'm blessed. I'm old enough now that I get my Social Security, which is almost as much as I get paid. But that's because I worked since my first job was in 1967, long before you guys, even probably older than your parents. But and people don't think I'm 71. I get carded all the time, but that's cool. That's cool. Yes, I am out of control. Okay, Jessica. I'll see you guys next week, same time. get the assignments done. If you have any questions, remember the rule is you can call me, text me, email me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. So stay safe and take care of yourself. All right. Thank you. I love that. Thank you so much. All right. Good night.